So this quick video is going to show you how to make a pair of earrings in the Fiber Studio. Now, when you get started making earrings, some things that you're going to want to have on you are going to be some different tools, including a few pairs of pliers. One of them has a rounded tip, you'll notice. One has a flat tip, or a needle nose is what these are called. It has that flat edge. And then the last one are actually a pair of pliers that can cut, or wire cutters. Now, again, you need to share these in the classroom because there are only enough for one person to use at a time, but there are many of us, so we're going to need to make sure that each person gets a chance to use them. I'm going to set these off to the side. I'll show you how to use those in a bit. The other things we're going to need are going to be some beads. Now, when you're finding beads, make sure that you think about both earrings. So for example, if I want this bead on my earring, and I want this bead on my earring, I need to make sure that I have two of them, so one for each ear. And then I want to think about how I want to arrange any other beads that might be on there. So, now, something that's really helpful as I'm thinking about my beads is to just take a moment and plan what you want them to look like. So again, I want to make sure, by the way, two of each so they match. Okay, I want to take a moment to plan, and I can think maybe I want mine to have, again, my dangly hook, and maybe I want it to go little bead, teardrop bead, little bead, little bead. Or maybe I might draw another idea and think it's again. So maybe my little bead, little bead, little bead, teardrop bead. And I can look and think about which one I might like better. Actually, I think I'm going to like this one more. So I'm going to rearrange my original plan. Now, once I've got the beads, the next thing I'm going to need is some of my tools for my earring kit. You'll notice there's lots of different, there's gold stems, and that there's also going to be some silver stems. There's also going to be, again, some different colored hooks for the top. So I want to go ahead, and again, when I open this, check and see where the opening is. Again, the opening for this, or the opposite side, is right here. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to take out two hooks. Set that down first. So, made sure that I've got one earring hook, two earring hooks. Then I can close my lid, flip it over, and I'm going to look for two stems. Now you'll notice there are different lengths. Some are very long. Don't take these if you're only putting one or two beads on. Some are going to be very short and are going to be just about an inch long. I can't find one in the box right this second, but don't grab one of those if I'm trying to make, oh, there it is. Don't grab one of these if I want a lot of beads on, okay? So take a look. Right now I can see my one bead takes up almost half of that, and I know I need more space, so that one's not going to work. So I'm going to look for one of my medium length ones. And I'm going to need two of those again, one for one earring, one for the other. Oopsies. Okay, so I've got two earring hooks, and I've gone ahead and I've grabbed two earring stems. So I'm going to write that on my list of things I need. Two earring hooks and two stems. Now, once I've got this, I've got all my tools I need. The next thing I have to do is start putting them together. So again, looking at the design I wanted, I can go ahead and grab my bead, grab one of my stems, and slide it on there. You'll notice there's a loop at the bottom that keeps my bead from falling off. Then I can go ahead and grab my next bead, I think I want to have my black bead, and then this little seafoam bead, and another black bead. Now, you'll notice I've got a little bit of extra space up here. That's what I need to have. I need somewhere between a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch. So again, somewhere between about this much and about this much. You'll notice when I look at mine, it's a little bit less than a 1/2 inch, but more than a 1/4 inch. If it's any shorter than that 1/4 inch, you're gonna have to start over, okay? Get a longer stem. So once I've got mine on, I can go ahead and set that down, and I can do my other one, or I can wait and do my other one. I'll do it right now. I'm gonna do bead, green or black bead, green bead, and black bead. And again, the two of them now look the same. If I want to have a different pattern on both, that's fine. But think about that as the artist. Oops. Be careful, these do slide off. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my purple handled rounded pliers. Okay. Now, I don't want to pinch way down at the bottom because you'll notice it won't hold. But I want to pinch kind of close to the middle area. Now, you'll notice it's not sticking above my pliers. It's not way out at the end. It's about in the middle-ish area. Now, what I'm going to do next is, again, I'm going to take and I'm going to hold my earring down at the bottom. I'm pinching my pliers really tight, and I'm going to start turning my wrist that's holding the pliers. Now, what that did is you'll notice it started curling my earring. That stem is no longer just straight. It's getting a little bit of a curl. If I don't hold this tight, it won't move. I have to, and if I don't hold my earring tight, it will just move around and it won't work. Now I can pinch again, and I can keep curling it a little bit at a time until it closes shut. How I did that was just little tiny movements in my wrist, and sometimes I had to move when I was doing this. You'll notice, again, sometimes I do a little bit, and then I have to open it up and try again. Now, if it's mostly closed, that's great. If it's all the way closed, you'll have to open it up a little bit. And then you're going to take your earring hook, and you're going to slide it on there. Now this is, oh, I can't fit mine on. This might be a point where I have to do a little bit of adjusting, but I can open it up a little bit, and I can slide it on. Now, I like to take at this point my flat needle nose and just kind of pinch both sides. I'm trying to zoom in on this and let you see. Pinch both sides and kind of give it a little squeeze. And again, if that's not working for you right now, it's not wanting to work with me, just again, try shifting it in a different way. So again, I pinch both sides and I kind of squish it shut. Do you see how the metal right there? I know I'm trying to focus on it really quick for you. Do you notice how that loop is now closed really tight? There's no space in there. That's what you need to have. If there's even a tiny little bit of space, the earring hook might come off, and we don't want that. Now, when you're all done with this one earring, then I get to move on to my second. So again, I'll run through those steps. I take my purple needle nose pliers, and I'm going to pinch, not quite at the end, not quite at this end, just about halfway. You guys can see where I have it, okay? And then I'm going to hold my earring tight, hold my pliers really tight, and I'm going to turn my pliers. And sometimes I have to push my tool or my earring a little bit too. Now it's not closed all the way, that's okay. I can go ahead and curl it shut a little bit more if I need to. And then I can grab my earring hook, slide it on, and then pinch. Oopsies, I'm trying to show you here. It's, again, just pinching that tight shut. And if it goes a little too far, that's okay. It's better to have a little too far than not enough. Now, when you're all done, again, check and see. Are the pegs straight? Does everything fit on them? Do they look the way you want them to look? If not, you can uncurl these. Now I notice mine is a little bit long on this one, and it's not quite so long on the other side. So I'm thinking I might change something quick. If I've made my earring and I notice there's just too much here and my beads are sliding back and forth, and I don't like that, that's okay. Take my purple pliers and I'm just untwisting it a bit. Okay. Now, the metal won't twist too many times, but it will untwist at least once here. So I can go ahead and I'm now using my needle nose to make that a little bit flatter because I want it flat in a second. This is where I might use my cutters. Okay, that wire cutter is great to cut off some of the length. If I know I don't need it to be that long because I had about that much extra, right about that much extra on there, I can go ahead and pinch really tight with my needle or with my wire cutters here, and it will cut it shorter. Now be careful because it does kind of fly off, and so make sure that you have friends around you aware that you're doing it, or aim it down so it doesn't go on to anyone. Then I can go ahead and grab with my needle nose again, and I can twist, and again adjust and twist, and a little bit too closed, open it up a little bit, slide my earring hook back on, again hold it tight, and I can pinch it shut. Now that it's pinched shut all the way, I now have my earrings ready to go. And again, I see this one's not shifting around as much anymore, a little bit, but not too much. This one's not shifting around very much at all. And I would say that those earrings are ready to go. If I want to take these home, I need to upload them to Seesaw. Remember, upload to Seesaw before you leave. If you want to take these home, all you'll need to do, grab a small piece of scrap paper from back in the drawers in the collage studio. Then you can poke your earrings into it really gently. Again, careful, just hold the hook, poke into the paper, and then just carefully wrap your paper around them. Grab a little piece of tape and you can tape it shut. And that'll hold your earrings in place. You can fold the ends down too if you'd like. And fold the end up. And you've made a little pouch for your earrings that won't get lost. I suggest always writing your name and your classroom code, whatever that is. So 5N, because I'll say Miss Ness's class I'm in. Okay, so just do whatever class yours is. If you're in Miss Osterman, it would be 5O. If you're in Mrs. Johnson's, it'd be 3JO. Whatever you need to do. Okay, again, this way, if this gets lost, we can get it right back to you. We know whose it is. If it's just the earrings, it's really hard to tell whose are whose. Okay? If you have any questions as you're working, please let Miss Ness know, and I'm more than happy to help you. Thank you. Welcome! This quick tutorial is going to be on making necklaces in 2 different ways. Necklaces or bracelets. So, again, necklace and bracelets. If you're making a necklace or a bracelet, you're going to need to find the box that says necklace or bracelet on it. Also, you're going to need to look inside and you're going to see some tools that you'll want to find and use. One of them is going to be this flexible wire. The flexible wire is the best tool to use when making jewelry. So again, just so you know, as you're looking at it, there's my flexible wire. Okay, so we're going to need that. We're also going to need some different pliers again. So our two pliers that we're going to need is we're going to need a needle nose plier and we're going to need a wire cutter. You'll notice that this kit has the ones that has the black handles to it. Make sure that these always end up back in the necklace and bracelet box. Okay. The other thing that you might notice in here is you're going to find a bag that has leather necklaces in it. If you want, you can use these as well. And I'm going to show you how to use these in just a moment. Now, you'll notice if I've got a leather necklace out right now, you'll notice some other things that are on here as well. Do you notice this chain and how it's connected with this piece of metal here? That little piece of metal is called a crimp. If I'm making my own necklace or bracelet, I'm going to need 2 crimps. And there are a couple choices I'll show you in a moment. On the other end, then, you're going to notice that there's another crimp. So there's our second one. There's going to be a little ring here. This is called a jump ring. And we're going to need 2 of those. And then also you'll notice that there is a clasp. Now there are some different types of clasp, but most of what you'll see in here are going to be these ones that are called a lobster claw. And it's mainly because they look like a lobster claw when I open and close them. So you just need 1 clasp. Okay. Now again, if I'm making the leather necklace, those are already attached. Don't worry. If I'm making a flex wire necklace, then I need to have these 3 things. So these go up with that flex wire. This doesn't need any of it. Okay? Now, we'll go ahead and get started next. Now, I've already cut off a piece of the flex wire to use. What I want to do is I want to take, if I'm making a bracelet, it needs to be longer than my wrist, quite a bit. Do you notice how much I have left there? If I make it this long, then I'm going to end up having enough extra that I'll be able to finish it. If I make it just the right length for my wrist, or to go around my wrist really tight, then it's going to end up being really hard for you to work with, and you're not going to be able to take it on or off. So make sure that it's not too tight, that it's got a couple extra inches on there, okay? So once you've got that, you'll notice that I just cut it with my wire cutter. So I just take, and here's my scrap piece right here so I can cut this a few times. I just take my wire cutter, put it to the spot where I want to cut, and I pinch tight, and it cuts it right in half. Now, again, don't save little bits like this. Only cut off what you need, and any parts that are just wasted end up in the garbage. Okay? So, now I've got my wire. I'm going to go ahead and get my other tools that I need. Now, these are in different boxes in here as well. You're going to need to get 2 crimps, and sometimes they are gold crimps, sometimes they are silver crimps. It kind of just depends on what I have available at that time. I also know that I can grab my rings. Oh, and it looks like I have 2, oopsies, 2 of my rings there. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab one more thing, which is going to be my lobster claw clasp. Now, I like to make my types of metals match. So if I'm using gold for most of it, then I want to use gold. If I'm using silver, I want to stick with silver. If I have to use gold crimps because that's all I have available, then just use the gold crimps. If I have to use silver crimps because that's all I have available, then use silver crimps. Okay? Now, there are another type of crimp that you'll find in here too that you don't want to use for this. These have, again, try to zoom in here, get it really close. These have kind of an odd edge to them. Okay? You'll notice that they've got a little loop on the end. And if I turn them sideways, you'll see, whoopsies, I can't turn it sideways very easily. Okay? You'll see that it's got an edge and it's kind of shaped like a horseshoe. These are what we would need if we're using leather or if we're using some sort of fabric or pinching a crimp onto those. You don't need to use them if you're using the wire. Okay? So, double checking my list. I see I've got my flex wire. I've got 2 crimps. These look like just little metal round tubes. Okay. Oopsies, there we go. Little metal round tubes. And then I'm also going to need my 2 jump rings, which just look like circles, closed little circles, and my clasp. Now, if I've got all of these ready to go, then I can go ahead and find my beads. Now, again, you're sharing beads. Please make sure that you're looking through the box and sharing them. If you see someone else looking for certain colors, let them use the ones that you've got. Don't be afraid to share them. So I'm going to be grabbing out some different beads here. Give me a moment. Okay, so I've grabbed some different beads. I'm not too worried about what mine looks like because this is just going to be an example. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. What I need to do first is I'm going to take an end of my wire and I'm going to take one of my crimps and slide it onto the end of that wire, just like I am making putting a bead on. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slide on one of my jump rings. Or not jump rings, I'm sorry. Oh yes, jump rings. Okay. Now, sorry, I'm getting a little zoomed in here to let you watch and I'm losing control. So, now, one big thing that I need to do is I need to make sure that my jump ring doesn't go past my crimp. So, the reason is I'm going to make a loop with my wire here by taking the end of my wire and sliding it into my crimp. Do you notice how it goes through in there? Now, I'm going to go ahead and pull my end tight because I want to make that crimp near the end of my loop and I want to make this really tight so there's not as much space that could break. And then once I've gotten it nice and tight, I can go ahead and I'm going to grab my needle nose pliers here and I'm going to pinch over my crimp and I'm going to press it as flat as I can. So I'm taking my needle nose and I'm pressing it together as hard as I can to get it nice and tight. And sometimes I pick up and I move it to a new spot and I do the same thing. Now, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out because I've kind of got that ready to go. And I'll show that step one more time. But you'll notice now I've got a crimp holding this in place and it's not coming apart. If I've got extra wire here, don't worry about it. I'm going to just use that in a moment and it's going to go right underneath my beads so I won't see it. Otherwise, I can cut it off. Now, don't just grab beads like I did. Make a plan. Again, if I know that I want my bracelet to have the big bead in the center and I want to have a black bead on each side like this, and I want to have maybe the blue bead on each side because I want to have symmetry in mine because symmetry in jewelry is a really popular thing. I can go ahead and keep thinking about how I want it finished. So maybe I know I want blue and I want black and I can just keep laying it out. I don't even have to draw it. I can just lay out the beads in front of me and figure out what I want. Okay, so I'm going to keep going with my plan and I'm going to say that I've got it now. Okay, that's as much as I want. I should fill up my whole strand, but that's maybe as much as I'm going to plan right now, so I'm not wasting too much time. Okay, but I know that I'm going to take all of these little yellow beads and I'm going to put them on first. So I'm going to go yellow, yellow, yellow. Maybe I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 yellows are going to be on one side. Oh, maybe let's do, since I've got some more here and I want to make sure I fill up my space. Maybe I'm going to do 5, 6, okay, maybe 6 yellow beads. Now I told you last time, don't worry, or a little earlier, don't worry about that little bit of wire. If I slide my first bead over it, it's going to cover it up. No one will see it's there. Okay, so I've got maybe my 5 beads on here and now I'm going to switch to my pattern that I was thinking of. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. I'm working from side to side. 4, 5. Whoopsies. Rolling beads. 5, 6. Oopsies. Sometimes there's beads stuck in there like this one. I can see if I can pop it out just like that. Otherwise, I might need to get some help. Oh, there, both mine came out. Perfect. 6. And then I'm going to get that other side. And I'm going to keep putting these on. And now I'm going to need more yellows. So last time I did, again, 6 yellows. So this time I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, you can see as an artist, I've done some of my steps already of planning and preparing, and I've been doing some problem solving. I've been engaging and persisting. I've been working on developing my new craft here. I've been learning a little bit more about how I can stretch and explore my ideas. All of these are different skills you can be using. So there's my 6 beads on there. 2 of them had fallen off. Now what I want to do is I want to check, and I might need a partner for this, check and see how much of my bracelet is really covered. Do you notice how if I have it like this, there's all this extra space on there? In fact, I'm looking at it in about another inch or 2 that needs to get filled up. If that's the case, it's okay. I can go ahead and I just know that I need more stuff to fill it, so I can take off my beads that I know I already have a pattern for, and I'm going to go ahead and just keep filling it up with more of the ones that I know I can't. So I know that I need, that's going to be my 7. I'm going to add a bead there so I know that it belongs there. There's my 8. Oh, I may need another yellow bead. So I may have to go back to my box and get some more. Oopsies. There we go. I know that's going to have to go there. And I'm having trouble getting from that bin, so I'm going to start grabbing from here again. Maybe I'll use some of my red beads here. So I'll do a red bead here. And ooh, I've got 2 of these nice small blue beads, so maybe I'll do a blue bead next too. And I'll do a blue bead next here. Oh, I noticed as I'm doing this, it covers up some of my yellow. Maybe I don't want to do it that order. I'm going to flip-flop it. I'm going to go blue and then red and see if that worked. Oh, that took care of it. I don't have to worry about my edge there. And I'm going to use more of these black beads. So I've added about another inch to my design on one side. That means it'll be 2 inches more on the other. So now I can keep going. I can go back to my original design. Oops. So I add these black shiny beads in between, whoopsies, my blue. And then I went black shiny. And then I went big bead. Okay. Now again, I can look at my design here. See, I'm not really liking that, so I'm going to just kind of pull some of these off again. I'm going to get rid of some of these because I just don't like the way they look. I'm going to stop doing that black one. I'm going to change this one. So I think I'm going to do an orange here. And then I'm going to do a black. And then I think I might do this yellow because I can see I have another yellow too. And then I'm going to do a black. And then I'll do my blue. So it's kind of like a rainbow almost. And a black. And then I can do my brown. And now I'm going to repeat. I think that looks a lot better. So I can go ahead and I'll just start repeating it on the other direction. So I can do my black. I can do my blue. Going in the opposite way now. I've got a black. Whoopsies. And I can get my yellow. I see I had a yellow up here. I can get my black bead. I can do my orange bead from right here. Do another black. And then I have my red. I know that I'm going to have my light blue, or my small blue, I should say. And then I'm going to have, it looks like, again, 8 yellows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's my 8. Now I can already see this is taking up a lot more of that wire. I can already see if I wrap it around, that's going to be plenty of length there. Do you see how, whoopsies, let me do it. It's hard, whoopsies, it's hard to hold on to. I'm going to have to fix that quick. So put those back on there. I need my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a few of mine went on the floor, so I'm going to have to get a few more yellow beads. That was 5, 6. Let's see if I can caught any of them nearby me. Nope. It looks like I lost a few, so I'm going to have to grab a couple more. There's 7. And there's number 8. Okay. Now, I know that I have enough length here when I look at it. I've used most of my wire. I only had a few extra inches on there, and I've already used some of it where my crimp was. So this time, again, helps when you have a neighbor help you out. But I can see that it's going to be a lot better fit on my wrist. Okay. If it's a necklace, make sure that you have enough space in your necklace, and you definitely want to have a friend help you. Now, to finish this, we're going to do a couple things. One is you'll notice my end came out of this bead here just as I was moving stuff around. So I'm going to put that back in there and pull it down tight. Then I'm going to take my crimp again. And again, I'm going to zoom this in so you can watch it. But I'm going to take my crimp and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my jump ring. And then I'm going to fold my end back into my crimp. Now I want this to be tight, so I'm going to pull on that loop, pull on the loop here to make sure that my crimp goes all the way back to my beads. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull. Sometimes I use my plier here to help me. Just hold it in place, but I'm going to pull that extra wire down so that I've got just a little loop sitting up there with my jump ring. Then I can take my needle nose again, and I'm going to pinch that flat. Now I have two choices again. I can either pinch off the extra here, or if I'm able to, I prefer to take my wire and thread it back through my beads just so they're a little stronger in that spot. And in case I ever have to go and fix this, I can oopsies, as I'm not showing you. So I take my end here and I can take my bead and I can thread it back through my beads here. And again, if I push that down to a point, maybe like 2, 3 beads here, I can go ahead and just pull it, and you'll notice it went right inside those beads. And again, I can take my wire cutter now, and I can chop off that extra wire. Once I've chopped that extra wire off, I've got my bracelet all set to go, except for one thing. You'll notice I've got my 2 jump rings, but I can't actually put this together. I need my clasp. So with it zoomed in like this, I'm going to show you how to put the clasp on. For my clasp, I need to go to my jump ring and take a look. Do you notice how there's a little gap where they don't meet up there? I'm going to pinch on one side, and I'm going to very carefully push it open with my hand. Oopsies. So you can see now there's a space in my jump ring. With that space, I'm going to go ahead and slide on my lobster claw. And very carefully, I'm going to take my needle nose and pinch on both sides and squish it shut until it clicks like that. That means that it's pinched shut. And now my end has a lobster claw. The last thing I'll do is I'll come back here and I want to double check. This one's not pinched closed either all the way, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull it open just a little bit. So I can do this. So I pull it open just by pinching and pushing with my finger. And then when it's open, I can go ahead and I pinch both sides and I pinch it shut. And you'll see it closed that little hole. Now my bracelet is ready for me to wear. Again, if I make jewelry, because it only takes about 1 class time to do it, I want to make sure that I upload it onto Seesaw so I have an example and so that others can see my idea. Okay? So again, when I'm all done, upload to Seesaw journal. Just put it into the journal when you're all done. Okay, make sure it goes into your journal, your Seesaw journal. Otherwise, I don't know who made it. Thank you, and if you have any questions, please make sure that you come and ask me. Make sure that when you're done, your things like your flexible wire all get put away. To make sure that it's put away correctly, you'll notice there's this little notch. Wind it up, click it in that notch, and that will mean that it won't come undone, it won't get wasted. That goes in the bin, and then I'll also make sure that always my pliers get put away, all my containers get closed tightly, and that all my containers get put away. Any extra beads will go into the bead box so that others can use them. Okay, next though, I'm going to show you how to do the leather necklace. Now, with the leather necklace, I can't use these small beads, so I'm still going to get rid of them. I'm going to go ahead and just put them back into the box. The ones that I need to use for my leather necklace are going to be these larger beads. You'll notice when you look at them, they have a much bigger hole than some of the ones that I've got in that small box. Okay, so again, for reference, whoopsies, zoom in here so you can really see. There's my hole for that one, and there's my hole for this one. While they're really close, you can see that actually my bead can fit inside, almost fit inside my big hole on this wooden bead. Okay, so I want to use the wooden beads. Now this end, where that lobster claw clasp is going to be too big to slide on there. This end, all of these chains here are going to make it too big to slide on there. So I won't be able to get it on either way. But what you will notice is there is a jump ring here that I can use. Okay, so there's that jump ring. Now it's got a little bit of an opening that needs to be opened up before I can put any beads on. Now, again, before I do anything here, I'm going to find my beads that I want to use. So again, look for a pattern that I want to make, because I really do notice that patterns are going to be way more interesting when you're making jewelry out of beads than if I just make something that's random. So think about different sizes. Usually you want the heaviest thing in the middle, and then you want lighter, smaller things towards the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and have those two light ones on the outside. And I really like this nice gray one in the middle, and I think that will make a really nice arrangement. Next then, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to need my needle nose pliers again. And let me go ahead and zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go to my, oopsies, my jump ring, and I'm looking at it, and I'm kind of twirling it, moving it around. I'm twirling it around and moving it because I want to find where that opening is. Now I found it here. It's really kind of tough to see, but you can see there's a little tiny break there. And I'm going to push the two apart. Now once that is open, I can slide this off, and I'm going to pinch it shut just for a little bit. So I'm going to set that off to the side. Okay, so what I've got now is I've got my rings here, and I've got this empty end. This end is small enough now that I can just slide my beads on. If I can't slide it on, because some of these are hand cut beads and they might not be clean on the ends, I can use my tool here and kind of just push it open. But I can slide each of them on until I've got all my beads on my necklace. Again, I can't use smaller beads. I have to use these larger beads if I want to make a necklace. Because the leather necklaces are more expensive to make, you can only make one per day. Okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and make sure I've got all these on. One more to go. Slide that on. And you'll notice with this one, I don't need to fill up the whole space. Because of my leather cord, it's sometimes nice just to leave it so that it's blank like this. Now, if I wanted, I could tie these at the ends here to make sure that it stays down, but I a lot of times just like leaving mine on there so they can move and shift. That way my necklace always has that statement piece right in the middle. Now, once I've got all my beads on, then I'm going to go back to my jump ring. I pinch again with my needle nose pliers. I push that open. I'm going to take my crimp that has that little end on it. I'm going to slide my jump ring into that little end and then push it shut. Okay, now make sure there's no space, because if there's any space in that jump ring, it might come apart, and I don't want that. So make sure the jump ring is totally closed, and as long as it is, now I have a finished necklace that I can clip on and wear. Whoops. And I can just take that home. Again, as always, upload it to your Seesaw journal so that I can see what you've made before you take it home. Okay? Thank you. And again, if you have any questions on making a leather necklace or making a flexible wire bracelet or necklace, let me know and I'll be happy to help out.